guys, when I'm doing a collaboration, the only concession I ask for is friendship.
Oh my God. Oh.
Hello, Drunkduckers. This is Ozone Ocean. With me are Tance and Baines, and today we're talking about the fact that you can't be an expert at everything. That when you're doing a collaborative, creative, when you're part of a collaborative, creative team, it's best to leverage other people's expertise and not take control over every little thing. So that's what we're going to talk about. But first, I've got to do the thing. Theme. Now we have the featured comic to introduce. I featured a comic this week. I featured a comic called Highly Devolved. So I'm going to tell you about that now. Hello, I'm Ozone Nation, and my feature for the week was Highly Devolved. Comedy! This is a single panel gag strip in the old-fashioned newspaper style. No ongoing stories, just visual humour and jokes to amuse you and make your day all the better. Single panel joke comics are classics, so I hope you will enjoy this one. The art is in a simplified, cartoony, characterized style, which is typical for the medium. It starts off with ink on Bristol board in black and white and then moves to all colour with digital art. The comedy is safe and can be enjoyed by everyone. Yeah, so if you enjoy, The Far Side and various other comics of that ilk, you'll quite like this one. Very traditional newspaper kind of thing. You'll recognise it from that kind of era when newspaper comics were king, gag comics, that kind of thing. And yeah, this is the internet version, and it's fantastic. We get a few of these every now and again on the site, but not too many. It's not really a popular format, but it's good when it happens. So I hope you enjoy Highly Devolved by Josh Anderson, and it's rated E for everyone. And that was the feature, Highly Devolved. Okay, I realised I just barreled into this thing without introducing Baines and Tance, so I'm being a bit of a dick this time. Baines and Tance are with me today on this particular Quackcast. Hi, Baines and Tance.
Hello.
Hello.
There we are. There's our introduction. Fantastic. Okay. Now, what's up next? Oh, yes, featured music. Gun Wallace wasn't able to give us a featured music this week because he tried and tried and tried, but he wasn't able to come up with anything that was really good. So, no feature. But I will introduce a best of, and I'm going to introduce that now. And the best of I chose was Gun Wallace's theme to The Jacket comic. Wiry, punk, gritty, shiny, and cool. This one jangles in on lyrical chords, sounding indie rock with an almost Arabian flavour at times as the strings howl and echo up and down the scales. A rocky tune for the coolest jacket in the world. The Jacket comic. Take it away, Gun Wallace, with your theme. There you go. I hope you like that little best of. It was a pretty imaginative, pretty cool. Okay, so now our subject of the week, which is relying on the expertise of others, because you can't be an expert at everything. I think we've done collaborative projects before. We've done that subject. We've actually called it collaborative projects. And this is an aspect of collaborative projects. So, I mean, it's almost like we're repeating the whole thing. But we're taking a different view on it. We're not just talking about collaborations. We're talking about leveraging the expertise of others, which is so important. Because, okay, what happens? Sorry, Tans, go.
No, I would even venture to say that a part of what we're discussing is how to be successfully collaborative in a joint project, because that is how you rely on others that are experts like you are, assuming that you are all experts.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole idea of the experts sort of came to me when I was, I don't know, part of the idea came to me when someone was like talking about a perennial thing, which is an annoyance of mine, the Star Wars prequels. You know, they were pretty crap, and someone was saying, "Oh my God, you can't say they were crap because George Lucas, the creator of the things, was behind them. So I mean, they have to have been good because he was like literally the creator of Star Wars." And then you have to come back to this, you know, this idiot that fact that George Lucas came up with the original idea, but he didn't have any power back then because, you know, he was like a graduate of film school. He had a great movie under his belt, which was American Graffiti, and THX, which was his student project, and he had turned it into a film. So he only had those two things, but so he didn't have a very great level of power. So he was able to come up with a story and direct it and all that kind of stuff, but he had to rely on the massive expertise of all these other people that were working on it with him. Not only, like, you know, effects people and costume people and casting people and, you know, these great actors and all this kind of stuff. He had to rely on people doing, like, the editing, script editing, all this oversight of him. And so, like, if the producer said, "Oh, sorry, George, we can't afford that," or "We can't afford that," and then he would have to go, "Okay, yeah, all right, then we'll do this instead, and then we'll do that instead." So he had to make compromises, and he had to rely on the expertise of other people. And so with the others,
and he famously the director Brian De Palma, who's a friend of Lucas, like looked at his opening narration, the way Lucas wrote it, and he was like, "This is terrible. Like, let me rewrite the opening crawl." So the opening crawl of Star Wars was written by Brian De Palma.
wow.
Oh, wow. I didn't know
There
that.
you are.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Expertise of other people.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And say in the second movie, that was directed by someone else, and the third movie is directed by another person. So
Irving Kershner did the second one.
there you go. And he did the best job. That is the best Star Wars film that exists ever.
Beautiful job.
Excellent.
I still like the third one better, even with the Ewoks.
The Jedi, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
No, that's fair.
it has
It's
some
good.
great moments, like the speeders through the forest of Endor,
Mhm.
which is amazing, and the Cloud City stuff. The Cloud City was mainly in the first one, wasn't it? No, mainly in the second one. Ugh. It had the hut and his floating palace thing. That was mainly in the third one.
Yeah.
And some other good stuff. Yeah. So it did have some good moments. And the ATSTs, which I love, which are the chicken leg walker things. I love those. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the idea of deferring to the expertise of others. So he had to defer the expertise. By the time he finally got around to writing those prequels, he didn't have to defer to other experts. He was able to take total control of everything. He was able to produce his script exactly how he wanted it to be done. He was able to force actors to read his terrible dialogue and his terrible kind of setups. And the film was very clunky because he didn't have the same kind of need to defer to producers and defer to editors and all this kind of stuff, because he had the power, because he was riding on the success of those massively popular early films he'd done. He was also had a lot of monetary power, because he had that merchandising deal with all those films. So he was always making money, not only of the residuals from the films, but also from all the toys that he produces and all the copyright stuff. And his special effects company, DreamWorks, was the industry standard, the best in the business. So then again, he's got power because of that. And that's why those prequel films are clunky.
I would also say, I suspect, I cannot say for sure, I wasn't there, but he would probably have a lot of yes men around him, people saying, yes, let's do this, without giving him actual feedback. Because I don't know if he were told, I guess in a good way, we could do this in this way, to better convey your message or whatever, maybe he would have adopted it. But if you have people just telling you yes to everything, then how are you going to know that what you're producing isn't good enough?
It's all the Emperor's new clothes. It's all that.
Exactly.
All the way down. So, yeah, I mean, for those prequels, they actually had model builders actually making all those spaceships. They had model builders physically making those cities and those sets. And then they just switched over to crap CGI. Clunky, floaty CGI, which works in some respects, but the technology wasn't mature enough at that stage to produce really good effects. And that especially shows up in the special editions of the original films, where he goes and rips out perfectly excellent effects created by experts and replaces it with clunky CGI done by artists who obviously did not have the experience and time, because that technology was still so new then, versus the people who worked on it originally, who would have had decades of experience working on everything. Can you imagine what would happen if someone did that to something like Blade Runner? Replace that
wow.
beautiful city crawl, where you start going through that city with the great pyramids and the neon lights and the smokestacks and the fire and all that kind of stuff, which is all just a physical model that people have built, and background paintings and stuff, and replacing that with CGI, that would just break your heart, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And the hovering cars, replace those with CGI. Oh my god. Not that CGI is bad, it's just that the fact is, mega experts made that stuff. You don't need to offload that onto other people just because you think it's going to be smoother or whatever. So I'm not shitting on CG, because CG can be really good. It's just that this stuff is already as good as it gets, like it was with Star Wars.
There's also another element.
Go
on. You can always have too much of a good thing, in the sense that the whole point of a movie is to have the illusion that it's, what you're seeing is real, that the things are there, and often CGI fails to do that. It feels very false and phony. And when you have physical effects, that are actually there, it produces a completely different feel. So a good balance between the two, or even a combination of the two, like having actual physical elements being there, and then enhanced with CGI is usually the better way to go. So there was an era, and I honestly haven't seen Western movies for a while now, except Conclave, and I don't know if there was any CGI there. um, um, there was this tendency to overflow everything with CGI, like all of it is CGI, everything is CGI. And because it was like the new thing, high tech, state of the art thing on the block. And it produced all these basically not real sets in everything. So
Right.
Yeah, you see certain movies and you just go, okay, this is all green screen. There's no physical stuff here. I'm losing interest because these sets don't look real. They just look floaty. And yeah, it's one of the problems with CG stuff, just to keep belaboring this subject, is that you have too much control. Way too much control, and so artists have to be super duper experts on that, and you just don't have one artist doing that. You have a whole bunch of artists handling all these different things, you know, the person who makes the models, the person who does the animating, and the person who does, you know, the backgrounds, and then the person who does the effects, because it's you need to replace reality, you have to place everything about reality. And you have to know about all this different stuff, not only just like where the sun's going to go, but where all these different light sources are going to come, because they reflect on every single thing in order to produce, you know, different light effects. And then you've got like a like particle effects and stuff like that. And oh yes, we've got to have like different effects because of the atmosphere in this shot, and stuff's going to fade away in the distance. And then you've got like people who are, you know, really good at doing walking, and because they really understand the gravity, you know, how gravity works for this particular person, and all this. You have to replace every single thing about reality. Whereas, say, if someone's making the same effect with reality, with practical effects models and stuff like that, it's still incredibly hard to do. It's not easy, but you don't have to worry about gravity. Because, you know, like replicating that in reality, yeah, it's already there. You don't have to worry about the way light works, because you can do that with actual real lights reflecting off real things. So reality takes a bit of the, takes a bit of the load off you in certain ways. Still creating the effects is really hard, and making it look like it's real is really hard, because it's just a model, or it's just, it's just artificial. That's freaking hard, and you haven't got the level of control that you do in CGI, because you can repeat the thing infinitely in CGI, whereas in reality you can only repeat it at certain times, and it costs you a lot of money to reset and rebuild everything. So there are disadvantages, plus and minuses, but I think on balance, most people agree, even in the film industry, that the practical effects do still have the edge, and audiences really sort of always come back to that. Like even now, on the biggest films, practical effects, they're proud to announce that they're doing practical effects as well as CG, and they even lie about it. They even say, "Oh yes, there's no CG in this. Oh, there's minimal CG," when in reality there's a lot of CG, but they're too afraid to say. Because the audience love practical effects so much.
The thing is, I think that which is something that is normal in the sense that, oh, okay, this is the new cool thing. Everyone wants to have it. So you go through an era of everyone doing this all the time, everywhere, until you completely get overdosed with it. And then we can start deciding exactly where it is in its optimal use, and also, bringing back in stuff that we abandoned for a while we were playing with a new shiny toy as humanity. So, yeah.
Yes, Disney doing two-dimensional animation is a good example of that. Haven't they made moves towards that after they've abandoned it all with their moving on to Pixar and having them just sort of run the animation?
I'm not sure actually if they are trying to go back to it at all.
I'm not sure either.
Well, yeah, that's off the subject though. So yeah, let's get back to expertise.
Yeah, go ahead. Expertise. And going back to expertise in collaborations or just expertise?
Well, I mean, using others' expertise rather than your own. You know, deferring to others when you should.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, so this applies to any industry. You know, like any industry where you're working with someone else and they're the expert at their thing, you should defer to them in order to say if I was talking to Tance about, yes, Tance, let's see, we're adminning, you know, we're doing administration of Drunkduck, and yeah, there's this problem user, and it's because they've got this certain, you know, they're neurodiverse in a certain way, and because they're neurodiverse, I think I should handle them this way, and I think this, and I think that. Whereas Tance is the expert on, between us, she's the expert on psychological kind of things. You know, she would be able to handle you, not she, you, Tance, would be able to handle that situation better. What's that, Tance?
No, I was teasing. Yeah, I wouldn't even dare say that I'm an expert in anything neurodivergent.
I mean,
because
between us.
But even so, like, and that's the difference. A person that is an expert in something will know very, very well what they are not an expert in.
Yeah, but say, like, in my example, I'm sort of saying, like, I would be taking control and telling you how this person should be handled. Yeah. Say maybe if you came to me about this person, I said, no, Tance, you should handle it this, but you have way more experience at that than I do.
Yeah.
So you are the expert
I would,
in that.
For sure. I would be able to at least know who to defer to if we needed to handle something that I am not an expert in, but is within my field. Yeah, definitely. And I think that is a telling sign. Someone that can tell you exactly what they are expert in and will not try to claim that they are expert in everything, more or less, is probably an expert in what they tell you they're an expert in. Whereas a person that says, oh, I will tell you, there's a thing that still blows my mind. So I keep telling it as an example, bringing it up as an example to everyone. So I was watching this debate between anti-vaxxers and a doctor, and there was this one anti-vaxxer that told the doctor told her, is there anything I could tell you that would make you change your mind over this? And she replied, no, because I actually study these things. She had the goal to tell a doctor that conduct studies. So, and that is an amazing example of what it is to be an ignoramus that absolutely feels super confident on knowing nothing.
Wow.
Whereas an actual expert would never be absolutist, first of all, and second of all, would never presume to claim to be an expert where they are. So yeah, it's still blows. Like I don't know. I mean, every time I say it, like half of my brain says this cannot have happened, but it has. So yeah.
Jeez. What about you, Vance? Have you had any experience of this? Because you're an expert on many different things that you've been involved in, and you've had to like work on things where you haven't necessarily been an expert, but you've had no other choice. Like, say you've done like home renovations and stuff like this, like really amazing work on that kind of stuff. How have you been doing that?
Yeah, funny enough, I just had an issue the other day, and I tried to figure it out for a couple hours, and couldn't figure out how to fix something that was broken, and finally took it to my stepdad, who seems to know everything about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he was able to figure it out, of course, and he had the stuff around, but it was still actually the two of us together who really solved the problem, because it was almost fixed in the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I was like, oh wait, this you can't do that. I won't go into the specifics. It's silly, but like this little detail that if he had done it the way he was thinking, it wouldn't have worked. And I'm like, oh, you should do this. And we were kind of talking about that last night. Like, oh, that's interesting. The two heads are better than one thing, even though he has a lot of expertise at many things. It's like, this is a little off the topic of expertise, obviously, but just like to have, two sets of eyes and to bounce something off someone. I would actually put that above expertise personally in artistic areas and some other areas.
Okay.
Yeah, I was about to go off into a different topic, but yeah, definitely there are so many things, most things that I know nothing about, and it's great to have someone who knows, who knows something you don't, expert or not, kind of, it's fine.
I would even say that you guys both are experts, or are experts in this, and you had two experts collaborating in solving a problem, which made it very efficient. Whereas, yeah, I'm like, all of these examples shoot through my mind right now. Like, for example, um, my mom is also an educational psychologist, like I am, but we focus on different aspects of the field. Like, she is very much in designing curricula, designing learning processes, if that makes sense. Whereas I am a lot more focused on how a group of people learn together.
Okay.
So yeah, and it is very adjacent, and we overlap in a lot of our expertise, but we are also very different. So when we designed our English language learning textbooks and all that, she made the framework. I wrote everything else over it. Like, I dressed it. She made the skeleton, and I dressed it up with all the stuff, all the content. I put the content in. And that was possible only because we had different focuses in the same field of expertise.
Yeah.
And we produced very successful books. And I say that because I have the evidence to say we learned a lot, is a lot more easily and a lot faster with these textbooks. On the flip side, when my mom was overseeing educational programs in a kindergarten, when I was also a kindergartner, she was told by the teachers of the kindergarten that we all know psychology. Like, you don't bring anything new to the table. We are all experts in psychology.
Yeah.
You know, plot twist, they did not know psychology. So yeah, experts will consistently never say that they are experts in anything else except what they are expert in. Non-experts have what's the effect that you said there was?
Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah, they have that. And it's annoying. It's very annoying.
Right.
Yeah.
I think most people do have that for various things. You know, even like people who are really expert at something will often think they're experts at related fields.
Yeah, that does happen sometimes.
Like,
I'd done some reading and research, I remember, on Greek gods. And I remember the first time it came up with us on the Quackcast, and I have to confess, like in the back of my mind, I was kind of like thinking, I'm going to blow their minds with how much I know about Greek gods and some of the symbolism. And you guys instantly showed that you both know so much more than me. I was just like, okay, I'm glad I didn't come in too hot on this topic because I know very little about it. Always fun. But yeah, that the Dunning-Kruger effect definitely. I mean, as I think you said on Patreon, it's sort of a natural human thing when you learn a little bit to kind of like feel like you know more.
Yeah, exactly.
But I did have an unfair advantage on you, though, Baines, on that.
Well,
area.
yeah, I didn't even think of that. Like,
yeah, and I always imagine I know more than I do. I think I always think that I have a Dunning-Kruger effect on whatever I'm into. You know, like I always think, hang on, am I imagining that I know more than I do? And it doesn't matter what the subject is. That's always at the back of my head. So that doesn't mean I'm not a victim of Dunning-Kruger. That doesn't mean I'm above it. That just means I'm aware of the possibility that it's affecting everything I do.
Yeah.
So
Same.
go on.
Oh, no, you go.
Well, I mean, the idea is, if we know about Dunning-Kruger, that means we can't be victims of it. That means it's only idiots who do that. This is the sign of an idiot when they fall for the Dunning-Kruger. And I think that's an example of Dunning-Kruger thinking like that, because already you're imagining that it doesn't affect you, and it does.
Yeah.
It affects everyone all the time.
Yeah.
I will say though that especially in like your own endeavors, you don't necessarily want an expert. Like I could have someone draw my comics. Actually, maybe I would like that, but I could have someone like write my comics or write my things or do different things that they're way better at than I am. But it's like well, I don't want that because I want to do it the way I do it, you know. And it kind of wouldn't be the same. I mean, it is like when you're doing it as a profession and you have to produce at a certain rate, it does change things. I know some indie creators do use like they'll hire out for certain jobs, and I wouldn't say no to that out of hand. But when you're doing it as your own pursuit, especially, and even professionally, actually, like say you have a band, you know, there are other players who are better, but you're like, well, no, this is the group I want.
Yeah. I mean, the idea isn't to replace everyone with the best expert in the field. It's more to, okay, so this is my bass player, this is my lead guitarist, this is my rhythm guitarist, this is my drummer, my keyboardist. It's like, okay, I'm not going to take over everybody's role in my band. This person is the keyboardist. I'm going to let them get on with their thing because they're the presumed expert in relation to me. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing, rather than
or even in more like in line with what Ben said. This is the person who does the thing the way I want, like has the sound I want, for example. It doesn't need to be necessarily an expert.
No, I mean that's definitely not what the subject's about. We're not talking about experts as in objective experts in the industry. We just mean like not replacing yourself with them, like deferring to them who can do it. But like you say, you choose them because they're the best at, or they're what you want to do, or even like bands are like formed because they're the only person who will work with you. That's really what it is,
right? Yeah, it's like they're the only person who lives in this neighborhood back in the day.
Yeah.
Or us with our group. I mean, we didn't like joined together to do like the Quackcast together because yes, I'm hunting out this person. I need to see TV, and or we didn't, do the like yeah.
All of that for this.
We didn't do Key of Dreams because yes, Baines is the ideal person and Ozone Ocean is the ideal person and Tance is. It's like we're mates and we want to work together on something.
Exactly.
And that's how we go. We sort of choose our
Well,
roles.
I have to confess something though. When I reached out to you guys, to both of you, and said like, would you guys want to collaborate on this script? Do you like this script? I like your art, both of your art.
Oh.
I like it. So I was very excited. Like I was crossing my fingers, hoping that you would say yes, because I really wanted to see what would come out of a collaboration with two artists I really like. Like I liked you. I like the art. I would not have offered if I didn't like it. I have to say this. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
No, I honest to God. Like I would have trooped on my own and did my thing on my own, groaning the entire time. But I would have illustrated my own script. No, I said like, wait a minute, this is an opportunity. And I said, okay, yeah, like I really hope they accept. And you did, and it was amazing. So.
And I can't wait to work on the next one.
Yeah, I have to and write the next and offer and make the pitch to you.
No, I mean you've already done the pitch. Now that pitch from last time stands. So
yeah, true.
We're keen to work on the next one.
Yeah, I'm starting to miss Morpheus and Mimi and want to see how they interact. So yeah, I'm gonna be writing it soon. I promise.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you. I would love that because
I did another collaboration for the Flock of Dreams anthology, actually, with Jane Joke and David X. Olukoga, I think is how you say his name. And that was great. That was like so much fun. I worked on the story. I had the story, and I kind of pitched it to Gene Joke, and we went back and forth on how the story ended, and we kind of worked it out, like basically how it would go and how it would end. And then he wrote a script.
Oh wow!
And then David did the art. It was so fun, top to bottom, and hopefully they both had a good time. I think they said they did. But that was just like our collaboration. Like it was really neat to play one role in something like that, and then have other people do their thing, and then you get this completed thing at the end. Like very much like a movie thing, but we do. Oz and I do that, and the three of us did it.
Yeah,
did that, and maybe a little bit of other things with Gene Joke, and very very cool, man. Very when it's done, when it works well, it's really fun.
It's massively fun. Yeah, David's a great artist. I like his work, and Gene Joke is a really interesting writer too. So that's an interesting project. So you came to him with a story idea, and he turned that into a script. Wow. That's a different way.
I tend to like overdo things, especially in my endings. So I really loved how he we kind of, like I said, went back and forth on the ending, and we were joking about how he likes dark endings. I like super happy endings. So we were laughing about that. I was like, well, my ending would be like everyone joins hands after these nightmarish events. Like everyone joins hands and starts dancing. And that's the end of the story. And he was like, well, yeah, in his, like, everybody would die horribly at the end of his version. And he came up with, like, a happy ending version that I loved, and it was neat and it was tight, and not as many beats as I would have had. So it was a real collaboration on the writing level, even. And then, again, he wrote the actual script after that. So it's awesome.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. See,
I was like the George Lucas, I guess. remember.
So yeah, everyone was going to be dancing in circles, going wob wob, job job, wob wob.
Yeah,
The classic way to end a story. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, so yeah, like you say, you were the George Lucas in that, like coming up with Raiders of the Lost Ark.
yeah, it's an archaeologist. Yeah,
That's what, like,
I mean, I went a little farther than that. I think I had story beats and stuff, but whatever. We went back and forth on a lot of it.
yeah. Say, for example, like George Lucas coming to Steven Spielberg for Raiders of the Lost Ark. Steven is the one who directed it. I don't know who wrote it. Probably George wrote it. And
Like David Kep or one of those legendary
oh, really?
Hollywood screenwriter guys, I think. Yeah, pretty sure.
Wow. That's pretty cool. So, yeah. Hey, okay.
I'm now going to look it up. I think it was David.
There's a bit of trivia. I don't know if this is absolutely true, but I did look it up, and it's and I think it's true. I think I did research it. So the Raiders of the Lost Ark was like set in 1936, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the film came out in like 1981. The time between those two events, like when it was made and when it was set, is exactly the same time now. Because now, the time between, this year and 1981 is the same time period between when that film was made and when it was set. Apparently.
Oh, wow.
So if we were to do another Raiders, or not, but a story, yeah, it would be, that same. It's set in 1981. That's unbelievable. That doesn't seem real, does it?
That's weird. Yeah.
No.
So
No.
Lawrence Kasdan wrote Raiders? Kasdan.
Lawrence Kasdan. Yeah. He also wrote Empire Strikes Back and Jedi, I think.
Oh my god, he's
Yeah,
a
he wrote
genius. He should have written the
Yes.
bloody prequels.
Well, he wrote at least one of the sequels, so
The sequels?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So this tells you something. Sometimes the right collaboration at the right time is the secret sauce.
Yeah, well, he would be really old now, so maybe he's a bit soft in the head.
Yeah. And I mean, a screenplay is like who takes that material and works with it. That's like the whole idea of experts all doing their thing. It's sort of how does it all work together?
Exactly. Who like the editors, his script editors, and who's going to be like, and maybe the production team looks over and says, "Look, we can't do that. It's too expensive. We can't do that because we can't, be in this location. So you have to change location. We weren't able to get the rights to this particular music, so you got to have other music, and you didn't have this actor, so you've got to write it around this other person." So that kind of stuff, which is,
I mean, that kind of stuff and more was definitely going on with The Force Awakens, which Lawrence Kasdan co-wrote with J.J. Abrams. Like, it was a lot. That movie was workshopped by executives and everyone, So, who knows what it could have been in different hands.
Well, yeah.
With Lawrence Kasdan.
The Force Awakens did have some good kind of parts. Like, I love that opening thing with Rey, as she's like going over the ruins of the Star Destroyers on the planet. That's awesomely cool. Those scenes are amazing.
I like the beginning.
And that sets you up for something amazing. And then you've got that bloody, like, then she's trading some kind of power converter with some dickhead alien guy. And that's terrible. And that alien's played by Simon Pegg too. And Simon Pegg is I don't really like him in many things. I liked him when he was doing Spaced and all that kind of stuff. Big Train, all that. But as an actor in movies, oh god. Anyway.
Yeah, there's a collaboration, huh? The Simon Pegg, Edgar Wright collaboration. They did Spaced together with Jessica. Is it Jessica Hines, who was the other co-writer of Spaced?
Excellent.
Edgar Wright directed. Yeah, and then they did Shaun of the Dead, Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright.
Hot Fuzz.
I love that. Hot Fuzz they did together. Love that.
End of the World.
The third one, that one I don't love as much personally, but people like it. And the stuff they've done on their own, I haven't liked as much personally. Like Simon Pegg's stuff without Edgar Wright, not nearly as good. Edgar Wright's stuff without Simon Pegg, for me, not nearly as good.
Really? I mean, I love what you would call it, Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim, I know you love that.
Favorite film, one of my favorite films ever.
I think I cannot finish it. I don't know why. I cannot watch that. I tried. I have started it I don't know how many times, and I still cannot finish it.
Oh, we've got to all watch it together one day then, because it's one of my favorite films. When we all meet in Canada, Tance, we've got to watch Scott Pilgrim because it's set in Canada. So, probably whereabouts in Canada? Like Toronto or something?
I think it's set in Toronto, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So you're going to have to... Sorry. It's going to have to happen. We'll collaborate on that. You'll defer to my expertise on liking good films.
Think of Meatloaf and oh god, don't tell me I'm blanking on this guy's name. Jim Steinman, who wrote all those Meatloaf songs, the first album or two. Meatloaf, who sang them, and of course the amazing musicians on that album. And they did other stuff without each other. They had a fraught relationship and a tough relationship, I guess. But I mean, the stuff they did together was kind of magical. And then apart, neither of them was quite as good.
No.
Apart.
Yeah, what they did together was like Bat Out of Hell is this operatic, like pseudo metal, like a bit of it's got nostalgia.
Rock opera.
Yeah, rock opera. It's got nostalgia for the 1950s. It's got everything. It's
musical theater. Yeah, this sort of epic feel. And you got to give credit to, is it Todd Rundgren, I think his name is, who produced it. So it's just a whole thing of different people bringing their abilities. Yeah.
It's magical. The music is incredible. Yeah, the lyrics, the singing, the artwork on the album is great. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it's in the same vein, in the same kind of period, we had the War of the Worlds album, if you guys know that one. So War of the Worlds was who did that? Someone Wayne. So War of the Worlds, obviously, that's a concept album based on the writings of H.G. Wells, where aliens invade the world and all that kind of stuff. And that was an amazing collaborative project between so many different experts in the field. So this guy did the he adapted Jeff Wayne, I think. He adapted H.G. Wells stuff to to a musical format. He's written these songs, adapted it to music, gotten these amazing vocalists to do the parts of all these different characters, and just put this together in this just incredible rock opera of War of the Worlds. It's really a standout piece. It's probably the best version of War of the Worlds that anybody has done. People have done these crap movies over and over and over, and even video games and stuff like that. But this guy's rock opera is the version of War of the Worlds that is just fantastic. And it's got artwork by Michael Whalen, for example, who is an expert at fantasy art and sci-fi art. So he got these amazing people from all these different fields to participate to produce this incredible rock opera version of War of the Worlds. It's just amazing. Just like your example, Baines, a bat out of hell. So
Yeah.
I highly recommend it if you can ever come across War of the Worlds, the rock opera. Do, and I can't believe you guys haven't. That's amazing.
Okay. Never even,
Oh, and
never
honestly,
heard of it.
I like that sort of thing. So I'm gonna actively look out for that. So for sure.
Yeah, you'll be surprised at how good it is. I still, oh my god, I used to cry when I was little at the scene where they had the death of Thunderchild, because Thunderchild was the battleship, the last battleship that was fighting against these the alien walkers, and it was able to destroy one of the walkers, and it was protecting these escaping refugees who were escaping from Britain to the I don't know, France or something like that, and Thunderchild just knocked the head off one of these huge alien walker machines, and then all the aliens turned their heat rays on Thunderchild, and they melted it and destroyed it, and yeah, Thunderchild died. And as a little kid, oh my god, that just sent me into absolute tears. I was so upset about that.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the strength of that particular production. It's like could really emotionally affect you that way. It was so well done. And the artwork of it is amazing too, because that had actual artwork showing Thunderchild and everything. So yeah, it was really cool.
Nice.
Highly recommend it. Yes, so good old collaborative projects and the expertise that I mean it's not expertise so much as you're using other people's abilities for what they're good for, not taking over and half-assing it. Like for example, in these Quackcasts, like I like the sound of my own voice. I like to chat away and tell people everything, and I hate talking over you and Tance, because you and Tance have such great ideas, and I like to backtrack and go, okay, oh sorry, Baines, oh what did you want to say? What were you saying? Because you're the genius, and you come up with these amazing jokes and things like that, and I always stomp all over the damn things because I'm not thinking, but I can't come up with these amazing observations and jokes like you can. So.
Well, I mean, you might be, that's very generous, I'm going to say, so thank you. And I try to choose the moments, but you have a momentum going, so I try not to interrupt unless it's really important, like a pun just occurred to me. It has to go there. But and it has to be heard.
It has to be. But yeah, the fact is, you are fantastically good at that, and never feel like you have to let me keep going. Just freaking talk over me, because it needs to be done. It needs to be said.
Wow.
Because I would just go along like a steam train and not stop. Verbal diarrhea.
If you could do everything, what would be the point of us even being here?
Yes, exactly. Oh, just having a yes man. It's reminds me of Conan O'Brien in the early days when he used to have Andy Richter all the time.
Right.
And Andy Richter was you'd look at it like a viewer and you think, oh, why does he have this guy here? Coming up with all these jokes and stuff like that. Why does he need that? Letterman and the big fat face guy, what's his name? Damn it.
Dizzy Gillespie.
Who was the big fat guy? Letterman? Was he the fat guy?
No.
Leno. Okay, Jay Leno with a big fat face. They didn't have offsiders. I mean, Letterman had his musical guy, but he wasn't really as much of a part of it as Andy Richter was, as much of a part of their show, the Conan show. But you wonder why Conan needed this offsider. but together these guys really work so well and were able to sort of come up with like jokes and things that they wouldn't have been able to do individually. And
yeah, that's a neat example. And I know, like, I was obsessed with these talk shows back in the day. Not anymore, but in the day when they were the stuff I watched, like, I was really into all of it, and I've read up on it. And producers apparently hated Andy Richter in the beginning. They're like, why is that idiot sitting there on the couch? Get rid of him. And they didn't, until Andy wanted to leave. But yeah, he is like, and it's funny, like he would put a well placed kind of joke or comment that would kind of go against the grain of Conan. He just has a different person, so he has a different personality, and it's almost always hilarious. It's just having that variety or something, and him being a funny guy.
yeah,
It's just like it's a huge laugh almost every time he talks, and credit goes to him, but also just having a different kind of energy to break things up or whatever.
exactly. And I've since seen, I mean, Andy and Conan no longer work together on stuff, really. But so you see Andy in a lot of films. He does like voiceovers in cartoons and stuff like that. He's just as good, just as amazing as he used to be on the TV show. Just as cool. And I don't know, Conan does podcasts and stuff like that now, and he has other offsiders, so he's still working in a collaborative kind of
And
way.
I love Conan's sidekicks. His sidekick Sona, who's his assistant, and then Matt Gorley, who does a similar thing to Andy Richter. He's just a different kind of energy, and he's like often has the funniest stuff. His little asides on the podcast. That I became a fan of Matt's podcasts. Why am I talking about this? Nobody cares. But yeah, go ahead.
Listen to these podcasts. Don't listen to this one.
This is what I'm listening to. Yeah.
Listen to those podcasts after this one.
Because our podcast is just as good as theirs, basically.
It could not be otherwise.
Now send us your merchandising deals right away.
So have you guys had like collaborations that really didn't work at all? We only have a couple minutes left, I know.
Yeah, I had one where I was working with two people on the Pinky TA dream sequence, and I've talked about that before. And like my collab partners really weren't producing art to the same level as I was, and they were really slow at producing stuff. Like one of them was really freaking slow. So I just took over, and I wasn't a good collab partner in that way because I was taking over too much and not letting them do what they want and letting them have their full freedom. So it was, and plus I was working on, it's sort of part of Pinky, so I was a bit protective. So there was all that kind of stuff. So I'm to blame, really, for that not working out that well. It worked out okay, but it could have worked better.
Yeah.
I haven't got any art collabs that didn't work because I am so picky, I guess.
Right.
I did have a couple of like scientific collabs that didn't work because we were all shoved together by, having to do group projects, and I ended up doing the project for everybody. So
I've done that before. Actually, back in uni when I was working on some creative stuff, like working on a video project with other people, animation project, and then working on like a website kind of stuff, other animation stuff. I would always tend to take over and not give them their full kind of like creative control in their way. Because I'd be really like like too bossy about this kind of stuff, and I'd have way too much, too many strong ideas about how things should go. So, and I'd think, oh no, yeah, you could do that, and I could wait for you, but I could do it way quicker if I did it myself. So bugger that, I'll just do it myself.
Honestly,
Right.
I have to say that I just really wanted to get an A and not, risk getting an a B.
Right.
So I was saying, I would say like, no. Let me do this. This is how we get an A. Please let me do this, and they let me do it, and we got it. So.
There we are. Okay, so we got under a minute left, so we've got to sign off.
Yeah.
Defer to the expertise of others that you're working with, and don't try and take over and be a dick. I think we should say. Don't be a George Lucas.
Yeah.
Oh.
Unless you want to end up like him.
Yeah,
a millionaire.
A multi-millionaire with an amazing set of huge films that are fantastic under his belt and love from everyone, and will be remembered forever, long after he's dead. Don't be like that guy.
Yeah.
Who wants to be that?
Oh, I know. President Trump. Best example.